Tough times, tough times. Supply chain is wreaking havoc.
I know, it's not true. So, Husky Vayner, let's do that in E tonight. Like that.
Yes.
Right, so that we can go,
So all the Khatimas are going to be different, right?
until we get to Amida, yeah.
Okay,
That's why I was kind of framing it.
great. And which Kolodi are we in? Kolodi. Oh, we're not?
Now we'll do something else.
Okay.
Probably some other
Mm-hmm.
so,
Okay. I'll follow you.
So, there must be something different in minor to E-fit from C.
It will be an E.
Right, so therefore
That
in D, from D
Wait,
to
why D? Um,
it's a step
oh,
down.
you want to go from Sukkot Shomecha into the next thing? So that would be B. That one would be B.
Actually, you know what? I'll just B.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, just you know what? Take the repeat, and I'll do the English.
Mm-hmm. Adam, don't forget this. I don't. Yeah, it's okay.
And
You want to take the book?
oh, yeah, that'd be great. And for how about around the sun?
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Let's do minor.
Mm-hmm.
So I can find the mic.
This?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
just,
better than others.
yeah, it's better.
You don't need, I'm not telling you where.
I'll put it on during the.
What?
I'll put it on during camels,
I forgot.
so we can get started.
No, I wasn't. I forget often.
Better. סביבי עליי את סוכת שלומך נעיר ארץ בכבודך נגילה ונשמחה
Shabbat Shalom. Cantor, those are a great way for us to start for me. It occurred to me as we were singing that one of the amazing things about candlelight, maybe candles you have any moment, is that light can reflect a yearning and a joy and an energy and it can also reflect a kind of angst, worry, hurt, fear. It can, I think, reflect so many different feelings, and in these days, these weeks, I know for one, me for one, I for one, I feel so full of stress about the world, and so it's all the more powerful and all the more meaningful to be able to break through that, even for a moment, and sing. Let that so much of the other yearning come out. And so, Renee, I'm going to ask you to come up, light our Shabbat candles. So many hundreds of times that you and your wonderful, amazing, precious, brilliant husband did so many times. We're on page 2. And all the light that the two of you have brought into this world. And then we're going to celebrate a piece of that tomorrow morning with the baby naming. Great-grandchildren, incredible. How many are there in total? 3 great-grandchildren. You don't need the book, or you want the book? Amen. Thank you so much, Renee. Okay, we can turn to page 22. Page 22, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat.
You may be wondering why we've jumped all the way to page 22. And that's because Erev Chag, and we're treating tomorrow like a Chag, we typically don't do a lot of Kabbalat Shabbat. We kind of skip a lot because it's a new service, and we go straight to Psalms 92 and 93. So we're on page 22. Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat Tov lehodot LaAdonai Ulzamer leshimcha עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שמחתני אדוני בפעליך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. צדיק אתה מר יפרח, כארז בלבנון ישגה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי, ולא עוולת בו.
Page 23.
I'm going to give the sirens a moment to disperse. And while we do that, just to look at the text of Psalm 93, which we don't often do here at TBE, but it's all about God's presence and mastery and ruling over the natural world, and how that is something that is greater than any of the sound and thunder or explosion that any man, army, or bomb could possibly fathom creating. And so, as we do this rendition of Psalm 93, which is attributed to an Argentinian composer of unknown origin, we can focus on the natural imagery, the sound of the ocean being thunder, the ocean sound as being the greatest pounding we can hear. And above the thunder of the mighty waters, more majestic than the breakers of the sea, is Adonai, majestic on high. Adonai malach geud lavish, להביש אדוני עוז תתעזר, אף תיכון תבל בל תימות, אף תיכון בתבל בל תימות. נכון כיסך מאז, מעתה מעולם אתה. נשאו נהרות אדוני, נשאו נהרות קולם, ישאו נהרות החיים, מקולות מים רבים, אדירים משברי ים. אדיר במרום אדוני, אדיר במרום אדוני. עדותיך נאמנו מאוד, לביתך נאווה קודש אדוני, ליורך ימים, מקולות מים רבים, אדירים משברי ים. אדיר במרום אדוני, אדיר במרום אדוני.
Shalom Aleichem on page 24.
שלום עליכם מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. בואכם לשלום מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, ממלך מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
26 חצי קרים.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון וחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויפר בדרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמא, ואמרו אמן. Let's keep that going. Baruch the call to prayer. Just want to point one thing out. Because we're treating it like Erev Chag, there's a slight change in the nusach that we do at the end of the prayers, the Chatimah, which sometimes we do like Shabbat. Tonight we do like it's Erev Pesach, because tomorrow we're treating like a festival. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Page 30. Together, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
Uma'avir yom u'mehevir layla Uma'avdir ben yom u'ven layla Adonai Tzevaot Shemo El Chai v'kayam Tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Ha'ma'ariv Aharavim Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha avta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu B'shofbeinu u'b'kumenu Nasiyat b'chukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Ki heim chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nehege yomam v'layla ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Keshem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed.
Please be seated. 36, V'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha B'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha Ve'hayu advarim ha'ele Asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'ham בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וכשאתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Before we turn to Michamocha on 40, let's offer the reading on 37 together. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act.
Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work.
Whether you're tired
or you're rested, let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate.
They're
reminders to do all my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God.
I am Adonai, your God.
Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Page 40, Michamocha.
We're still in Passover mode, so let's use the melody that we know from Adir Hu for Michamocha to remind us that we are on that journey from Egypt and we're about to be liberated, not just from matzah, but from all that enslaves us. Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele malchutecha ra'u vanecha pokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Zeili Zeili anu ve'yameru Adonai yimlov le'olam va'ed ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Before we move to Hashkivenu, I want to share a couple thoughts. And even before I share a couple of thoughts, I want to celebrate or honor what Cantor Adam shared with you about, we're going to do a couple melodies that remind us of the fact that we're in a Chag at the end of Passover. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs used to say, there's a melody for every day in Jewish life, a different melody every day. We do the same melodies at different times, and it's a beautiful thing to mark our time. One of the ways we mark our time through distinct melodies for that moment in time. So, thank you. We're right in between Michamocha. We're right after Michamocha and right before we enter into or offer Hashkivenu and Vishamru. And I want to frame these prayers in a very contemporary way. Yesterday I heard an interview of a former U.S. military general about Putin and the Ukraine. Discussing how poorly the Russian soldiers are doing, this general said this. He quoted Napoleon, who apparently once said, "The moral is to the physical what 3 is to 1." The moral is to the physical what 3 is to 1. What a line. It's like a biblical proverb. I want to also point out and recommend that Bret Stephens wrote a very powerful piece about leadership. Maybe many of you have read it, entitled, Why Do We Admire President Zielinski? And so let's listen to some of what he wrote, Bret Stephens. We admire President Zielinski because he shows that honor and love of country are virtues we forsake at our peril. We admire him because he reminds us of how rare these traits have become among our own politicians. We admire Zielinski because he embodies 2 great Jewish archetypes, David in the face of Goliath and Moses in the face of Pharaoh. We admire Zielinski because he models what a man should be, impressive without being imposing, confident without being cocksure, intelligent without pretending to be infallible, sincere rather than cynical, courageous, not because he is fearless, but because he advances with a clear conscience. We admire Zielinski. He is the prophet, the leader, and Zielinski is the prophet who revolts against the diminishment and entrapment of his people and determines to lead them to a culture based on self-determination, freedom, and ethics. Lastly, Zielinski and the Ukrainian people have reminded the free world a liberal and democratic inheritance that is taken for granted by its citizens runs the risk of being taken at will by its enemies. Those are the words of Bret Stephens. Moral power suggests Napoleon is so much greater than physical power. There's a multiplier in moral power that allows the impossible to happen. Or 2 weeks ago, some of us got to spend a few moments with John Kamen, who taught us a saying that goes, I think, like this: 1 + 1 + 1 = 1,000,000. So from Micha Mocha, which is the defeat of slavery and oppression, to Hashkivenu and Vishamru, which is the prayer, the aspiration, which for us, we pray we're not taking for granted, and we see not so far away, even several thousand miles, how vulnerable any of us can be. Sleeping in peace, Hashkivenu and Vishamru, about sleeping in peace and creating sacred time. We all know, though, that this journey from the slavery of Micha Mocha to the sleeping in peace and sacred time of Hashkivenu and Vishamru, it is not a foregone conclusion that we can obtain it initially or maintain it after we've had it even for centuries. There's nothing inevitable about this journey from Egypt through the Red Sea. The odds really are stacked against all seekers of freedom and democracy. Slavery and defeat actually is more likely. The physical power, it seems insurmountable. It's always a kind of David versus Goliath experience. But we remember Napoleon in this moment. The moral is to the physical what 3 is to 1. Hashkivenu, page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Ve'amidenu Shomreinu lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Ve'amidenu Shomreinu lechaim Ufros aleinu Sukat shlomecha Ufros aleinu Sukat shlomecha
42 together. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace.
We lie down in peace and
Raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Yerushalayim.
ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים
44.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
Let's rise for our standing prayer, the Amidah, page 46.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטהר, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים וחיי מאמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וכראשים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Take a moment for our own personal prayer, standing or seated. Whatever is your custom or comfort, we'll come together in a few moments.
And if I can draw your attention as you do your private meditations to the insertion for Pesach on page 56. It's something we don't normally do, so something new to do. Feel free to continue davening at your own pace with your private meditations, or join me for a plea for peace on page 62 at the bottom of the page. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav. Oh, ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav. Oh, ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oh, ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amen. Amen. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav. Oh, ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael
Amen, amen. We'll offer a prayer for healing as I walk down. If you'd like to share the name of a loved one you're thinking about, please feel free to do so.
Dick and Debbie Coates, Barbara Greenfield. We pray for the speedy recovery of all those whose names we have mentioned, or those whose names we have typed into the chat, or those whose names we hold in our hearts as we turn to page 253 and sing together. Mi sheberach avoteinu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. I learned recently from one of my very dear teachers, Rabbi Ruli Matalon at B'nai Jeshurun, about a piece of art that's in the B'nai Jeshurun art gallery. I don't think their art gallery is as spectacular as ours, but still, the work is by a man named Toby Kahn, and it's a rendering of the 49-day period in our Jewish calendar. And that has 49 distinct pieces, and I hope you or someone next to you, you can see what I'm referring to, has a copy of the Xerox with, so you can just see for a moment this piece of art. If you notice, each piece is a different size and a different shape and maybe even a slightly different texture. It's 7 rows of stones of sorts, 7 rows and 7 columns. And the question is, like, beyond the number 49, what might this art piece teach us about the counting of the Omer? You see it? Yeah, I think that's it, Carolyn. Yep. Other side, Roberta. Yeah, okay. Good. What's this teach us about the counting of the Omer? How does the Omer counting connect to our lives? What insights, significant truths can it bring to light for us? I'm going to come back to this photograph and this piece of art in a few minutes. Of course, the Omer itself, the counting of the Omer, is meant to help us make the fullest, squeeze the most out of our years and months and days and hours and minutes. The Omer says a life counts only when our days count. All true. And I think there's more. Rabbi Matalon teaches there's more. The Omer is teaching us about time and how to relate to time. First of all, we know this, I think. A slave does not own or control his or her time. The slave master dictates, tells the slave exactly how to spend their time. Therefore, by extension, a slave isn't permitted to take any initiative, to take any independent action, to have a vision, a mission, a sense of higher purpose. Rabbi Soloveitchik taught, Rabbi Matalon said this, that freedom begins with our relationship to time. If you don't take action, that's slavery. If you have no initiative, that's slavery. If today is exactly the same as yesterday and tomorrow, that might be slavery. And obviously the opposite is true. The Omer is telling us, be the master of our time. Don't let the world lord over us, dictate to us how you or we spend our time or use our time. The counting of the Omer is telling us today is unique. It's full of wonder and possibility and potential. Don't think that today is just a redo of yesterday or a preview of tomorrow. No, that's a slave mentality. Every day is different. Every day is distinct, has its own objective, purpose, and mission. Tomorrow can be different. Imagine your future today. Rabbi Matalan said as well that this about the Omer and about freedom. Passover, the counting of the Omer, it's not about a freedom from a pharaoh is not our end game. Rather, our end game is a freedom. What's your preposition? To, that's a good one. Rolly Matalan says for, but you could make it, I think it's the same thing. A freedom for a sacred purpose, for a sacred service, for the service of other human beings or God. You could make that to also easily. And Rabbi Becca Weintraub, a colleague of Rolly Matalan, expands and narrows this idea, all with another insight. She says, yes, of course, we want a vision, a moving ahead, a working toward, all for a sacred purpose. But the Sfirat Omer knows as well another problem, a problem that is different from our allowing the world to dictate to us how we use our time. Here's the other problem, another problem. The what's next? Wait, what's next? What am I missing? I'm bored, I'm antsy, I'll open my phone and turn it off, and I'm open it and look again and look and open again. Heaven forbid we confuse what's next with a future-oriented, purpose-driven life. The what's next, what am I missing culture of the smartphone undermines so many moments in our lives. Rather, the Omer, the counting of the Omer, strives to keep us here in today. Think back to the book of Exodus. God says to Moses, Alei alai, come up to me. And then God adds two more words, V'heyesham, and be there. What do you mean be there? You already told me to come up to you. But we know this insight. So often we travel, we'll go somewhere physically, but emotionally, mentally, we're not there. We're somewhere else. It's such a rampant problem for us parents. Come up to me, God says, but also truly be here with me. Let's work at avoiding the slavery of the what's next, of the opening, closing of our devices. And the blessings of the Omer themselves teach this message. Yes, it's 49 days. Why can't we just say one blessing that covers us for the whole journey? Why not that? What's the point of repeating the same bracha every single day? Same exact blessing. Couldn't one blessing suffice? Rabbi Matalan explains it like this. Because today is not tomorrow. Today is not yesterday. Today is new. It's full of awe and awareness and amazement and aspiration. That's why we repeat the blessing every day. No day is to be like any other. We've got to try to climb the mountain and be there. Be here with today, in today, for today. And again, Rolly's colleague, Rabbi Weintraub, adds an additional insight about the daily blessing that we recite for the Omer. Last night, for those of us who are doing it, we recited the blessing and then said, Shisha Yamim LaOmer. Now, tonight, that was last night, we begin the 6th day of the counting of the Omer. And each of the 49 nights we do that. And I want to just prepare you. Right after my sermon, we'll count again. That's why actually on the other side of this photograph is the meditation and the blessing for the counting. right after the sermon, we'll move to the next day. But I won't say the new number right now. I won't say it until we actually recite the blessing in a few minutes. I won't say tomorrow's number today. Even though the Omer is wanting us to imagine tomorrow, to have a vision, a purpose for our future, it's also telling us don't sacrifice today for tomorrow. Today, stay with today. I want to add one final idea about the counting of the Omer. But to do that, I want you to understand the larger context. We count, as you know, for 49 days and nights. And on the 50th day, the day of what? Shavuot, receiving the Torah. And if there were a temple, we would bring as our sacrifice, does anybody know? What would we bring? 2 fluffy challahs, 2 fluffy loaves of bread, gorgeous, delicious chalot. And these 2 loaves represent our end goal, the culmination of our journey, the fulfillment of our aspirations. You get it? The matzah rises and evolves and fulfills an aspiration. So now that we're reminded of the end, let's go back. Let's start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. We start with matzah. The 2 fluffy loaves on day 50 begin with the stack of matzot at our Seder. So I want to tell a story about an experience that Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson had as a young boy with the Lubavitcher Rebbe, just before the Seder. Lubavitcher Rebbe is a person, a man who many actually say made Chabad what it is today. Let me just share with you some of what that is. Rabbi Jacobson reports this data. There are 4,900 Chabad Lubavitch emissary families who operate 3,500 institutions in more than 100 countries. Chabad operates 19 soup kitchens in Israel, feeds 3,000 poor and elderly people daily there. A Meals on Wheels program delivers 1,500 meals daily to the homebound, sick, and elderly in Israel. It distributes crates of food to 5,000 undernourished families, 5,000 monthly. This past year, this is kind of an amazing statistic, there were Hanukkah menorahs lit in 82 countries and in all 50 of the United States. There were close to 45,000 public Hanukkah menorah lightings this past holiday. And I think because of all of these statistics, there are quite a few who say that the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe, is one of the most important, influential people in modern times. So Rabbi Jacobson tells an experience, as I said, that he had with his father and the Rebbe on Erev Pesach about 45 some odd years ago. We all know that on Seder night, we break the matzah in half. We call that yachatz, from the word chetzi, which means half. We break the matzah in half because half is for what? The afikomen. You guys are such scholars, rabbis. And the other half is our what? Bread of affliction. You guys should be given this sermon. I love it. But at the Seder, sometimes we call it playfully the poor man's bread. So some 45 years ago, Rabbi Y.Y. was with the Rebbe, who gave out broken pieces of matzah to a number of adults and to 10 children, apparently. Few children. And when Rabbi Y.Y., he was a boy, approached, the Rebbe couldn't find a broken piece of matzah in the stack of matzah, similar to one we have on our Seder tables. The Rebbe searched and searched, but couldn't find a broken piece of matzah. And he turned the whole pile of the matzah upside down to see if he could find a piece, or maybe one would break in the meanwhile. Still no broken piece. And so after a few moments, the Rebbe broke a matzah and gave half to the young boy, who today is Rabbi Jacobson. He gave it to the boy and said in Yiddish, "Have a wonderful Pesach." And the Rebbe never explained why he did this. But Rabbi Jacobson, over the decades, over the years, has reflected on it many times. And his reflecting out loud goes like this. Was it, he asks, perhaps to teach me that in life, each of us is only half of a whole. Like the machatzit shekel, the half shekel we're expected to give every year. Never think that we are a self-contained whole shekel or whole matzah. We are always to see ourselves as incomplete on a journey to wholeness. Or, he wonders, was it perhaps a subtle blessing to a young boy that he one day would find an amazing life partner, a beshert, a life support? I just learned that mine arrived from Memphis a couple hours ago. I can relate to that thought. Or Rabbi YY said, was it maybe another message? Don't be afraid of brokenness. Don't be afraid of yachatz. Don't be afraid when you see it in other people and people we love. Don't be afraid of our own brokenness, of our own wounds, our own unresolved hurt and anxiety. You know why, he says? Because in that yachatz, in that brokenness, that's where we'll find the tzafun, the hidden. Our deepest light, our hidden flame, is often in our brokenness. Our own little Mashiach, he says, our own little Messiah is always found in our broken pieces. It reminds me of a sermon Tara gave years ago. It's like Leonard Cohen's song. Anyone know what song I'm thinking about? What, Roberta? That's a good thought. Not that one. There's a crack in everything, and that's how the light gets in. So let's conclude and come back to our art piece, Toby Kahn. Rabbi Matalan teaches us, and the older I get, I so love this insight, this piece of Torah. Let's look again at Toby Kahn's 49 days of the Omer. 49 pieces. Every piece is different because every day must be different. 49 pieces. Every piece is broken, a bit imperfect, because every one of us is a bit broken, a bit imperfect. 49 pieces at the end, amazingly, without really understanding how, we can arrive at Mount Sinai. Because we too must choose to leave slavery and embrace freedom. And somehow, without really understanding how, we can stand with awe and wonder and humility and purpose. By counting the Omer, by climbing the 49 steps, by embracing our 49 imperfections, each of us can arrive at Sinai. We can enjoy the 2 loaves of fluffy challah, which somehow started off as a broken piece of matzah. Chag Sameach and Shabbat Shalom. We turn now to Aleinu on page 282. Oh, no, we don't. No, we don't. We're going to count the Omer. Sorry. Whoops. I almost forgot.
All that build up.
For the Omer. Okay, so, all right. Hopefully you have the text. Hineni muchan u'mezuman, Hineni muchan u'mezuman, Hineni muchan u'mezuman, L'kayem mitzvat aseh, L'kayem mitzvat aseh. Next line. כמו שכתוב בתורה, הנני מוכן ומזומן. כמו שכתוב בתורה, הנני מוכן ומזומן. וספרתם לכם ממחרת השבת, הנני מוכן ומזומן. מיום אביכם את עומר התנופה, הנני מוכן ומזומן. Let's read the translation of this at the top. I'm ready and prepared to fulfill the mitzvah as it is written in Torah, you shall count for yourselves from the day after Shabbat, from the day that you brought the sheep of the waving, 7 complete weeks
shall
of
you
count.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer.
And we count now Hayom Shiva Yamim Shehem Shavua Echad La Omer. Today is 7 days, which is 1 week of the Omer. Wonderful. Okay, let's now rise for Aleinu on page 282.
Bottom of the page. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. And as always, we remember loved ones. We're blessed, fortunate that in our community it's been a couple weeks since we've buried anyone. So we're remembering the yortzeit of Bella Abrams, Fanny Epstein, Howard Extract, David Green, Eric Levy, Inga Levy, and Nina Weedell. And we remember loved ones who are not with us. Carolyn, you're standing, I'm assuming, remembering beloved Paul. And any others want to rise? Remembering, of course, Michael Zarin, Michael Nevins. Oh, yes. You're okay. Yes, exactly. Thank you. Anyone else? Please rise. If it's your custom to rise with the mourners, we're on page 294. 294. Yikadal v'yikadash shemer Rabba.
Amen.
V'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen.
Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam olamei almaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudesha
Brichu.
Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran v'yalma v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Please be seated. And we say, as always, may the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel. And we can say one last time, Amen. Announcements. All right, tomorrow morning, Torah study in person and online. And our Shabbat morning service at 10:30 will begin at 10:30, a standard Shachari first portion morning service, then we'll do Yizkor, and then we're going to have our Torah service and a wonderful baby naming Renee. It's, as I said before, pretty incredible to have great grandchildren. So looking forward to seeing you, Renee and Dan and Rachel and all the others who will be here. And I'm quite certain that Michael will be smiling down on us, on you all. And let's see, on Sunday evening, thank you, Cantor. You want to speak to the Maimuna concert?
Yes, you may be wondering, just as some of you may have put an orange on your Seder plate, you may be wondering, why is there a Moroccan lamp on the bima? And that's
Everyone
because,
has a Moroccan lamp on
doesn't
the
everybody? Yeah. And that's because on Sunday evening we are celebrating a wonderful way to end Passover, something called Maimuna, which is a tradition celebrated amongst primarily the Moroccan Jews, but other Sephardic Jews as well, and it's become adopted by many other communities. And it is a way to celebrate the return to Chametz with lively music and celebration. And so we're going to do that as well. We're going to have a concert by Asefa, a wonderful Moroccan jazz ensemble. And also we will be honored to be joined by the Consul General of the Kingdom of Morocco, who will bid wishes for and blessings upon us. And so it's going to be a wonderful event, Sunday starting at 6:30, and it's going to be great. So come, sign up. It's in your email. Join us. It's going to be a great way to come together and celebrate the end of Passover, the beginning of spring, of a new chapter, as we begin to come outside and shake off the cold.
The Consul General is very connected to the American Jewish Committee, the AJC, and we have some Beth-El congregants who are very connected. And when the Consul General heard that we were having a Maimuna experience, music, he's like, oh, can I come? So thank you, Cantor, for making that happen. And to our how long have the Recklers been members of Temple Beth-El? Quite a few decades.
Many years.
Anyway, thank you, Renee, for lighting Shabbat candles, and you'll lead us in Kiddush and Motzi in a moment. Our Oneg bakers, Roberta, Lulav, Linda Diamond, Ina, Pakhdar, I see you back there, Ina, Oneg in the lobby. The rest of our wonderful events you can read in our online and all the published materials. Actually, I mean, Wednesday, let's point out that Wednesday, 7 p.m., we have a Yom HaShoah gathering, and it is this week, so important to put our minds into that frame of it's painful. Yes. Yes, we're going to do that. We will. Before we when Renee comes up, I'm gonna speak to that. Anything else to announce for announcements, Cantor? We're good.
I want to thank our contributors. I don't know if they baked tonight, but everyone who
did.
brought special desserts for tonight that are Passover friendly. Thank you for that.
Okay, so we're gonna ask Renee to come up for Kiddush and Motzi, and as we do, tomorrow morning, as we said, we're going to observe Yizkor during our service, and we want to try to get all these lights on. And oftentimes, Gloria Landsberg does this job all by herself, and
Thank you for that,
Elaine
Gloria.
and others. So let's all rise, which we're going to do anyway, and go to a panel, if you would, and turn the lights on. And as soon as we're done, Renee, we'll have Renee lead us. If there's someone special for you, a loved one of yours, of course, go to their light. It's very moving, as many of us know, to be in here with all the lights on. Yes, that is true. I know, right. Just go as high as we can go. All right. I know, it's true. We will too. All right, as you're doing it, let's. We're grateful for the sacred service, the freedom for the sacred project that all of us are offering right now. Sacred freedom to. All right, Cantor, you want to bring some music? You let there be light. All right, that'll be close. It's pretty close. All right, wonderful.
Let's close with a sample of something we'll hear on Sunday night. A Moroccan setting of Ki Eshmera Shabbat. Ki Eshmera Shabbat El Yishmereini Oti Leol Meyad Beino Veni Ki Eshmera Shabbat El Yishmereini Oti Leol Meyad Beino Veni Asur Mitzvah Chafetz Asoter Achim Kan Mildaber Bo Divrei Tzerachim Divrei Sechora Af Divrei Melachim Echye Betorat Ulo Tachameini Utachakmeini Ki Yeshmera Shabbat El Yishmereini Oti Leol Meyad Beino Veni Ki Yeshmera Shabbat El Yishmereini Oti Leol Meyad Beino Veni. Shabbat Shalom.
Page 4.
Oh, here we
Kiddush
go.
notes.
Kiddush.
Yeah, that's all right. Page 4, for those who are sitting, Renee will lead us. Right paragraph. Amen, amen, amen. Great, take a drink. Yeah, take a drink. And now, motzi over matzah. Motzi. A motzi, lechem min haaretz. Amen. Exactly. You said it. You want to take a little piece of matzah? Thank you so much. Excellent. All right. Yeah. All right. Now, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We'll sing some more. Page 11 or 330. Ki Yeshmera Shabbat El Yishmereini Oti Leol Meyad Beino Veni Ki Yeshmera Shabbat El Yishmereini Oti Leol Meyad Beino Veni. One more time. Ki Yeshmera Shabbat
is in New Orleans. So where is it? It's at my house. Oh, I'm going to be teaching anyways in Westchester. So yeah, so I might be able to make it.
You can make it.
Thank you.
Hello. Long time. I'll make sure in the morning that it's
Oh, speaking of which, when do you want me here tomorrow?
What time we started?
probably 10:30. Yeah.
Is that when we're starting?
Well, tomorrow's study is 9:15 to 10:15. We usually try to give us 15 minutes to get upstairs. 10?
You got it.
Tomorrow we'll be halal stuff, so.
That's yours, yeah.